So, hello everyone, and welcome to another Civil Air Patrol interview. Today we have the classic cadet major, and we'll go as such for the remaining of the video. Thank you, sir, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And let's talk about some of your CAP background. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get involved with Civil Air Patrol originally?
Yeah, so I got into CAP back in 2016, so almost 4 years ago. My parents actually got me to go to a meeting because they said I wasn't doing anything with my life,
Oh,
which is 100% true. I wasn't doing anything with my life.
okay.
And so they got me to go to a meeting. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the people. So I just kind of sat there for about 2 months, not actually joining, just kind of being one of those kids until my parents once again said, "Hey, you got to actually join or kind of get out." So I joined. And from there, I promoted pretty quickly, and I've loved it ever since, and really haven't even thought of getting out once.
Okay, so when you were just showing up to the meetings, was there a specific reason why you were just showing up to the meetings? Were you just kind of there to enjoy the people and the activities, and you didn't really feel like you needed to progress?
More or less. So I wasn't quite sure if joining CAP would make me join the Air Force,
Oh.
and I didn't want to join the Air Force yet.
Yet.
So at the time I was like, I'm not going to join the Air Force ever. That's crazy. And so why would I join a program that's just going to make me join the Air Force? So
That makes sense. But now you are.
now I am. Yeah. Now I was like, why stop at CAP? Just keep it going.
That's cool. So, in terms of your involvement with Civil Air Patrol, you got super duper involved after those kind of 2 months of sitting around, as you say. What kind of things did you get involved with at the beginning? And how did
So
that
at the
progress?
beginning, I got really big. My squadron had a really big color guard program, so I got really far into that. Did a lot with that and color guard drill teams. Um, so I loved that kind of stuff. I still love uniforms and drill and all of that. And I started doing that until I started holding squadron staff positions, and that kind of took up most of my CAP time in doing that. And I got my first staff position probably 6 months after so.
As like an
And
element leader? Or.
I was actually a flight sergeant 6 months after I joined. Yeah.
Interesting.
I hit senior airman in 6 months, and they made me a flight sergeant as a senior airman.
Hmm.
Because technically there's some obscure regulation that says there's a 1 grade wiggle room there. So they used that for me. So yeah, I applied randomly because my motto has always been apply for everything. And so I did, and they actually gave me the position. So
That's great. Was it a super competitive process, or is it a smaller
um
unit so there weren't too many other people who were applying for the position?
there were probably 2 other people who applied for it. One of them was a staff sergeant, one of them I think was a technical sergeant.
Okay.
So I was definitely very proud to get the position over people who had some stripes on me, but it wasn't like some of those larger squadrons where it's like 15 people are applying.
Okay. Very good. And after you got involved in those leadership positions early on, you were like, I love CAP now and I must continue to do it.
Exactly.
What
Once I
what was that one thing that made you feel like you really, really wanted to do it and then eventually do Air Force stuff?
so like holding staff positions is wonderful. I love it. Not that I love being like in charge, but I love planning things and working on things and kind of having that, I don't know, that sense of purpose of you're constantly working towards a goal.
Okay.
And when I turned 16, I started looking at colleges as most people do. And I actually just wasn't quite sure if the whole college thing was for me. I wasn't quite sure what I would do at college. So yeah, I was like, hey, let's check out the Air Force. I love CAP. Why not? I
Yeah.
mean, make a career about this. Um, and so I actually spoke to an Air Force recruiter at a CAP event. It was the first time I spoke to a recruiter, and he was
Good.
like, "Hey, have you ever considered getting paid for doing this and doing it full time if you like it that much?" And I was like, "Man, that's pretty cool."
Yeah.
So yeah, then yeah, I joined when I was 17, enlisted all that, got my parents' permission, Did that, sat in a, guard unit because I'm a guardsman.
Mm-hmm.
Sat in that for 7 months and then left for basic. So
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty fun.
So, how would you say your experience with CAP differs from Air Force experience?
Um, so in the Air Force, it's a lot bigger picture than in CAP. I know there's the whole like as you get higher, you get to like national positions, stuff like that. That's obviously very big. Um, but in the Air Force, you're always talking about that big picture of how your job, doesn't just go into a unit or a squadron or an area, but it goes into that bigger picture of the Air Force as a whole. So there's a lot more talk about how your role in the Air Force is a single cog in a watch, and that the whole thing's working really well together. So there's that. There are also some minor differences. Our uniforms have Velcro and the tapes match, so
Yep.
there is that.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I wouldn't say the Air Force especially works not like a business, but more in a corporate style. Um, Especially my career field because I'm not in a combat career field.
Okay.
I'm in a non-combat control field. So a lot of the stuff that we do isn't like super extreme. I don't get muddy like I would at a CAP event. So there's that kind of difference. And there is, and people in the Air Force are obviously just more specialized. We all have a career field. In CAP, I would definitely, if I was looking for staff, I always look for people who have lots of different types of experience. In the Air Force, you're not really looking for that. You're looking for someone who's good at what they do.
Interesting. So there's more specialization within the Air Force than in CAP?
Yeah, like you definitely get some cadets who are very specialized. Like some cadets, they're honor guard cadets. That's what they do. There's some kids who, they're rangers. That's what they do. They wear their little orange hat, and that's them right there. Um, but for the most part, most CAP cadets really aren't like that extreme into one thing. They kind of dabble around in a little bit of everything. The Air Force definitely, you're not going to see me on a battlefield ever because that's not what I do. I do my job, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else does their job.
What specialty are you in?
I'm a 6 Foxtrot 0 financial management and comptroller.
And how did you get into that? They just put you into
Um,
it?
how did I get? No, actually, I'm a guardsman, so I get my career. That's actually
Oh,
why I went guard. In addition to being able to go to college full time,
okay.
not having to wait, I got to select my career field. Why financial management? Um, I I like dealing with money. That's a fun thing. I always enjoyed like budgeting and all of those things.
Hmm.
I love Excel spreadsheets and math, and they told me I could do that for a living and get paid for it.
Ooh, that's cool.
So, not gonna lie, I know my job. A lot of people tell me my job isn't cool and stuff like that, but I'm basically doing my dream job.
Well, congratulations on doing your dream job. And so you're balancing that with a college education.
Yes.
How's
So,
that balance?
how does that balance?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet. I start college in the spring.
Okay.
I'm gonna be double majoring in math and computer science.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna see how this is gonna go. And at the same time, my kind of side goal is to learn Russian while I'm doing that. Um, because I would love to eventually commission and become an intelligence officer.
Okay.
So we're gonna see how that balances. It's gonna be difficult. So I'll be doing all that. And I plan to stay in CAP at the same time. So it's gonna be fun.
That's
And if I can, I'll get into ROTC at that point so I can commission.
that's a lot of juggling between things. So that you seem pretty well rounded in terms of your interests, and then changing completely what your specialty is, I think, is very interesting. Because what my thought is, why not start with something more intelligence related? Or
And,
was
and
there
then move out.
something? Yeah.
So finance is actually a great career field if you're looking to cross train because not to get too deep into like how the Air Force works, but every unit needs a what we call an RA, a resource advisor, and those people are in charge of the finance side of every unit. So every unit already needs finance people. So if you already have a background in finance, it's super easy to cross-train because they need people who have backgrounds in finance to do that, or else they have to take one of their own people and send them to a whole bunch of finance trainings, which nobody wants to do. So finance is super easy to get over too, and it's really, really hard to get into. So unless you have a college degree in something like math or computer science, if you have them both, you can get it really easily.
Because I thought with intelligence that was more language oriented. Like if you have one of the core languages that they're looking for as like a major, then that makes you more competitive as well.
Definitely. That's why I'm looking at Russian, because Russian is a big language to learn these days. Gotta fight the Russians. However, math and computer science are very big because, well, the world's moving over to computers these days, and everything in computers is numbers. So there's also a lot of analytics in there, which math helps with, and analyzing data, putting it together, that kind of stuff.
But you wouldn't want to do cybersecurity.
No, I'm not that smart.
Okay.
I'm not that good with computers. I know how to make them work. Can make them do funny things to make my grandparents go, ooh, thank you. And that's about it.
That's fair. Interesting. Because I know I have some computer science... Truck, you're so loud. I know that with computer science, I've had a hard time with it because, like, I program games. Or I've helped with mentoring some people with Cyber Patriot stuff a little bit. And sometimes I just get lost in the sauce because it's so dense. There's so many lines of code and you need to understand how it works. And yes, you can add notes into the lines. But it's still, like, super complicated sometimes when you just wanted to do a simple thing. So...
It's true. I actually did 1 year.
Good luck with the computer science stuff. Like,
Thank you. I actually did a year of Cyber Patriot, actually, way back in the day.
How'd you do?
My team did really well. Not because of me at all. They brought me on because that was the year they talked about adding a lot more cryptology into it, and that was something I'm really good at because math. So they were like, hey, does anybody have any experience in that? I was like, well, I know a lot of that stuff, actually, because I learned it for fun. So, yeah, they brought me on. There didn't end up being a lot of that. And so for the most part, I just sat there, ate pizza, and was like, you can do that? Man. I thought I was good with computers until that point, and then I was like, no.
And you're doing computer science?
I'm doing computer science, yeah.
Okay.
I've gotten better since then.
Okay, good.
The good news is, like, I don't have to work on the side because the guard's paying for it. Oh, yeah. So there is that, like, bonus. But, yeah, it'll definitely be a lot. I don't know. The military's taught me how to sleep 4 hours a night, so I'm used to, like, long days and stuff.
Sleep is important. Please sleep.
4 hours is all you need in the night, actually.
See, the psychology major side of me is now saying, no, please get more than 4 hours of sleep. Because if you do 4 hours of sleep and then have 3 20-minute naps throughout the day, you're golden. You can do that.
What about 5-minute naps?
5 minutes doesn't do anything. It has to be 15 to 20 or else it doesn't do anything for you.
And then my naps are worthless.
If you go past 30 minutes and, like, if you go between 30 to 90 minutes, then that is the golden period that you will wake up more groggy than you were before your nap.
This explains my sleep problems. I nap probably once a week. It's kind of a celebration for me.
For 5 minutes.
Yeah. I take it generally in between, like, because I volunteer a lot on base, and I do a lot more than just my tech school stuff. So I'm a busy man. I like to keep it that way. I like being busy.
Really?
I do. Being busy is fun. So.
Okay. That is true, but you also need to make sure you're taking care of yourself, socializing with people outside of just stuff.
I do socialize. I socialize while I work.
Interesting.
A lot of my work's, like, a lot of what I do is really fun. I make sure that what I'm working at, I enjoy what I do, and so I don't really feel the need to go, like, socialize a whole bunch afterwards because I just enjoy what I do.
Okay. That's fair. So, being busy, that was new after you started doing CAP? Because you said your parents told you to join CAP
Definitely,
so that you would be
definitely,
busy with something.
definitely. I spent my early years avoiding work because I was that kid, probably up until I was 14 when I joined CAP. And then, I kind of really got into it and found that if you're doing what you really, really want to do, if you're doing what you love, then you actually want to spend more time doing it. And as long as you make sure to just keep doing what you love. And don't get me wrong, sometimes what you love sucks. There definitely, I can tell many stories of my time in the Air Force, my time in CAP sucking hardcore, but I've still loved every second of it. And so I don't mind being busy. I love it, and I welcome the challenge.
Very cool. So, in addition to doing CAP in high school, were there other things that you kept busy with after joining it? And then you're like, I need to do everything I possibly can.
No, actually, I spent all of my time in CAP. It's a
Oh.
lot of time in CAP. Yeah. So
So, how many hours per
that's
week were you doing for CAP?
I sat down and once did that, and it was over 80 hours a week of stuff that I was doing at CAP. That is counting like the time beforehand, like prepping uniforms, studying. I was one of those nutters who actually sat down and I've read 39-1 cover to cover.
Good.
Um, I've read pretty much all of it. I've even read some of the senior member regulations cover to cover just because I don't know. I needed some reference, and so I was like, "Hey, that's useful. I need to read this entire thing."
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of spent all my time doing it because I loved it. Like I said, I was honor guard, so I was constantly, out in my backyard tossing rifles around. Um, I spent a lot of my time preparing uniforms, and then tearing them apart and putting them together back better. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time in CAP, and CAP. The best advice I ever got is CAP is what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
The more you put into CAP, the more you're going to get out. And I can say I've probably gotten more out of CAP than anyone I know. But then again, I've also put more time into CAP than anyone I know. So
That's fair. What would you say the most rewarding position or experience you have had in Civil Air Patrol is?
the most rewarding position.
Or experience?
The couple that come to mind actually. Trying to like dig through find which one's the most. Most is always such a hard term.
You could give me like a top two or three if it's
Uh,
between a few.
I can give you a top two. So I was my squadron's deputy commander for 9 months, somewhere 9 months to a year. I don't exactly remember. It's somewhere around there. And I absolutely loved that position. That was the best. That was the first ever like non-line staff position I've ever held at anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all my time planning and budgeting and with Excel spreadsheets and all of that. And I loved what I was doing. I annoyed my cadet commander to no end because I was constantly like, hey, I have this budget I need you to check. Hey, I've written out this entire plan for this month's SARX. I need you to approve it and give it to the commander so we could do it. Don't worry, I've got everything set up down to how much people are going to pay, how much the squadron's going to need to get us, how much food we're going to need, how much uniform, what equipment we're going to need, how many personnel we're going to need, what we're going to need from group. And I've even put together this easy list for you of every person who needs to sign off on it up to the wing level. So I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. Because then I'd go to these events and they'd work out great. And sometimes they wouldn't quite work out great, and I got to go back and like, hey, we're gonna do this differently this time. But it was a phenomenal experience.
Great.
Other than that, I was in an encampment as a squadron commander,
Mm-hmm.
and that was super tiring. Not gonna lie. However, at the end of it, it was a super great experience because I got to see how much of an impact I'd made. Not as much on the students because squadron commanders you don't interact, but just with my staff, how much I'd gotten to really advice I'd gotten to give them and time we'd spent together, and it really it was a really good experience for me getting to share that with all of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was once a squadron commander too, and I would say the most fun I had in an encampment was when I was squadron commander. But one of the most rewarding experiences was as cadet commander, being able to see the overall influence on the success of individual students and just the activity in general. So, squadron commander was a lot of fun.
I was a bit bummed. I was supposed to be a deputy commander this last year, but that didn't quite work out because Corona. It did end up. It probably was the best. I was supposed to staff an encampment and then leave for basic 3 days later, which probably not the best plan.
Oh no.
But hey, it would have been fun. I was looking forward to it. So we'll see if they reschedule stuff. Maybe I'll try to catch another one.
Mm-hmm. So, are you planning on transitioning early to being a senior member, or are you going to sit in the cadet side for as long as you can?
Yeah, cadet side forever. I hear that they have cookies on the other side, but I don't want them. I don't want them. No. Unless they're white chocolate, then I might.
You can make some.
No, I'm gonna be as cadet as long as I can. I'm a major now.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of my friends are telling me I should make colonel just because it is like 3 promotions away.
If it's not that far away, that's pretty realistic to accomplish because you're within the PT standards and everything already, right?
Oh, I'm well under colonel PT standards right now. Yeah, no, I've got everything, and it's just to be totally honest, there is a part of me that kind of wants to transition over to senior member, just because there are some cool things you can do as a senior member.
Yeah.
Like get a lot of those qualifications and become a finance officer.
You can be a finance officer.
Yes, yeah, I actually tried to become a finance officer as a cadet, and they told me no.
That is a support position you can staff as a cadet.
No, I was trying to work group level.
Oh.
Yeah, they were like, well, technically there is no regulation that says
you could.
If you're a cadet, you can't do it. However, there were some concerns about just the liability and stuff. So
finance side is a little bit more sensitive. Like if you were doing ES or like public affairs, they'd be like, yeah, sure, you do that. But with finance, I could see why they might be hesitant.
Yeah, I can totally see it. But so yeah, senior member, definitely there are some cool things that unlocks in addition to the cookies.
And you would get captain after you finish your level 2 part 1.
That is true. I would do it.
If you got your colonel.
Part of me kind of wants to, stay a cadet. Colonel would be cool to get. I think Colonel Schwarzen has a good ring to it. And in addition to that, what am I now? I'm 18. So I struggle with my age. I just turned 18, so I want to say I'm 17. I'm 18 now, and I have 3 more years. And in 3 years, feasibly, technically, I could make it the staff sergeant in the Air Force. In which case, could become a senior NCO. Those are super rare.
Yeah.
So I'd dig that.
That would be really cool.
That would be.
Well, it's up to you. It's whatever you want to do. I just know, for me, I stayed in the cadet side for as long as I possibly could because of things like IACE, flight scholarships, helping with NCAC stuff where I could, and like helping with the wing CAC. So if you have the time to be involved with CAP, I think being a cadet has a few more opportunities that the senior member side doesn't have, and you'll have plenty of time as a senior member once you're old enough.
Definitely. You're going to be one of those salty old guys.
You can't go back.
That is true. You cannot go back. So
enjoy it while you can. And flight officer isn't...
No
there aren't
no
many
flight
benefits
officer.
to being flight officer. So
no, I'm better than that.
Okay, some people don't have a choice. Because
that is 100%
they join at
true.
19, and they have to be a flight officer when they first join. So it's not a terrible thing. It's just that if you're already an established member in Civil Air Patrol, you should proceed as planned.
Best to stay out.
Yeah, well, not best to stay out, but there are more benefits. that you can't get as a senior member. I'm just saying. And you're going to continue to do what you want, so that works. NCAC, you are now
Yes, ma'am.
involved.
I am now involved. Yeah,
Yay.
so it's cool. Been trying. I'm not gonna lie, have been trying. That's I think the one position that I've been like, kind of want that. So yeah, I'm a secondary on there. So that's cool. I was like, I even want secondary. I just want to try to get to it. Because why not? And it's one of the few things in cap that it like takes a really long time to get to the top. Like, don't get me wrong, other things take a really long time. Like if you want to be an expert ranger, that's cool. But it's the only thing that like you have to do a year and then try for the next level, and then do a year and then try for that next level. So you have to keep your popularity up and all of that jazz. You have to keep doing a great job. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things I was like, that's super hard to get into.
Yeah.
I'm going to try for it.
Do you want to talk about that process a little bit of how you got into that?
Yeah, so I got into the CAC on accident. I actually didn't know I was in the CAC at first. I got an email that said, congratulations, Cadet Master Sergeant Jack Schwarzen, you're now your squadron's, CAC rep. And I was like, hey, I got this email. And they were like, don't worry about it. We just needed someone to fill it.
Oh.
So my squadron apparently didn't do CAC before that. That's just, we didn't really do that. And so I was like, hey, let's see what this is, though. I've got the position. Did some more research into it. Found out I got a nice, cool red cord.
Yeah.
So slapped that on my uniform. Was like, yeah, here we go. And then, found out about like meetings and stuff. And kind of felt like if I was wearing the shiny red cord, I should actually, do the work that I was supposed to do to get it and stuff. So I started going to meetings. I really liked the CAC because, I don't know, it's kind of fun. You write papers and then you try to get people to like your ideas. And, so it definitely was honestly kind of a game at first. Just trying to get as high as possible and get things through. And then I kind of started to realize, like, I got one of my ideas passed, and I got to see, like, oh, it changed a lot of stuff, and it was cool, and I got an event put together. And so I was like, hey, let's try to do this again. So later that year, actually, like 4 months into my term, our vice chair stepped down. He was leaving or something, or didn't want to be cadet anymore or something like that. They were like, who wants to be vice chair? And I was like, well, I'll do it. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So I did that. Did that as a chief. So that was kind of intimidating. So I don't have any group CACs. So I was on the region CAC as a chief, which was super intimidating.
Oof.
But hey, it was really fun and I liked it. And then next year they were like, hey, you can run for to get on as a chair and be a full-time on the region. And I was like, that's super cool. So I tried for it, got that. And then, this last year I finished that up. And then just a couple of days ago, we had elections for the national and who would represent the Southeast region. And I tossed my name in, did some interviews, some applications, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And got the position. So it's super cool. It's been a dream of mine, and I'm living the dream.
Very nice. So does that mean you are the assistant region chair? Or are you the national CAC representative assistant for the Southeast region? Because
both.
But those are two positions.
But I'm both.
Those are. I'm just saying.
You are. So
they are two different positions.
For some regions, for some reason they're not. For some reason, while they are two positions, they're always concurrently held. Because the theory behind that is the fact that is actually a paper trail thing of all propositions and stuff go from chair and it then is presented. And so the idea is, wouldn't it be better to have your chair just present them because he's been there through the entire thing? So that's kind of the idea behind that, of why it might be better to have them both be one position.
Yeah, that's fair.
So even though they're two positions, I'm holding them both concurrently.
Like when I was on the wing CAC, there was the region representative for the wing to the region, and whenever we had to do things, that person wasn't necessarily the most responsive. So when we were trying to pass proposals and send them up to a region, it was very challenging to know if they actually presented those ideas or not. And it was a little bit concerning at times because there was nothing I could really do about it.
Right. And then your representatives start to ask you, hey, what happened to that paper? Did it get presented? How was the reaction to it? What were people thinking about it? Is there anything we can change about it? And you're like, I have absolutely no idea. While as with them as one position, you can be like, hey, this is exactly what happened. I did this with it. Let's try to get this a bit better if they didn't like it, and etc. So different approach on things.
Yes. Is there anything on the NCAC agenda this upcoming term that you're aware of that you'd like people to know about?
So the NCAC agenda is actually completely clean right now, which is kind of a first.
That is a first.
This last term was pretty phenomenal, actually. They passed, I think, 17 propositions.
Wow.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of stuff. I actually got to sit through their briefing not too long ago for Major General Smith, and it was quite lengthy, actually, just because of the sheer amount of stuff that was being presented. So they passed, if you keep up with their passings and such, they just had a big one on revising the Acre essay, so that was cool. It's actually really cool because I actually was one of the people who worked on that at the region level before it got pushed up to the national.
Great.
So that was super cool to get to watch that be presented. Yeah, there was some talk about, they passed one about audiobooks, changing over the Learn to Lead books and creating audiobooks for that. And
that was from my wing. That was from 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been tossed around for about 3.5 years, and
they're actually doing it.
It actually went over very well. They've already priced it, and as far as I've heard, that's a yes.
That makes me so happy.
So yeah, congratulations.
I can't tell you how hard that was. So basically, we had volunteers recording the chapters of the Learn to Lead books, and nobody would want to record for it. And so I ended up recording a majority of the chapters because have you heard the current recordings?
I think I have once. I think me and a friend were doing a study session. He was like, hey, I found these that we listened to kind of jokingly one night. But no.
I'm sure the guy had great intentions, but his thick accent just like rises up above everything else that someone might want to be focusing on. And I just thought it was ridiculous that they didn't have it for everything, because if there's someone who is if they are blind and they can't read and they have to have that like text to speech sort of like translation, then it can be really tedious. And if people have like learning disabilities, having audio recordings makes it more accessible, because if they have a reduced attention span, then having just the ability to turn it on and then turn it off is just an additional resource to study. So someone had presented that, and I remember the whole CAC meeting, we were like, we need to do this. This is so progressive. This is increasing accessibility, and we can increase diversity in CAP because people can do stuff now. And it didn't go anywhere.
You guys were 3 years ahead of your time. And don't worry. The NCAC apparently found it somewhere. Somebody's document had it in like an email or something like that, I'm told, like 2 years ago. And they've debated about it for a really long time.
But it got passed on the command council.
Did. The command council has yet to push it back, I think. Okay. However, the national commander is very big into the diversity thing, which I think is super great. And he's super into like trying to make it more accessible for cadets with disabilities and such. So I would not see that as being a problem. And yeah, so congratulations on having a really good idea.
That makes me so happy. Wow. It took way too long though. Change shouldn't take that long. If you look at that proposal, it's like, yes, this makes sense. Let's just pass this.
Well, that is my one complaint with the CAC. I'm open enough to admit it, the CAC takes a long time. It really does.
If you can make it more efficient, what would you do to change it?
What would I do? I think there are a lot of things that I would love to say, let's change this or change that. But feasibly, I'd love to see just CACs, maybe a bit more training for people on CACs, because I feel like a lot of people, especially at the lower levels, were people like me who checked their inbox and found out that that was what they were going to do. A lot of squadrons don't even send reps, like my squadron didn't. So I think if we could kind of get people more involved in the CAC and actually train people before they started being on the CAC, that go really well.
If you had to provide an elevator pitch to get people into CAC and tell those skeptical squadron commanders why they need a CAC rep, what would you tell them?
Why? I think one of the major complaints is the CAC never gets anything done. But I think as your story shows, CACs actually do get things done. You get a lot of things done. Sometimes it just takes a bit. And I think if more squadrons were involved, it would actually take less time. So the other thing would just be to, kind of spread awareness about it, which I think the last term, the NCAC actually did a really good job doing it, carrying it over into this next term. So if you don't know, there's a Facebook page, and I believe there's an Instagram page as well.
I can link those in the description.
Definitely do. Please do follow. We put a lot of stuff into that. All of our stuff is up there. Everything we talk about, everything we pass, you can read all about it. All of our meetings are posted there if people want to listen in. There are recordings of all of those, and it's a really great resource, and a really great way to be able to get to interact and get into contact with your own reps. And maybe you have an idea. If you do, your rep will be right up there listed. If you don't know who your rep is, feel free to click my name and send me stuff. I'm always open.
That works. Because I think, I didn't know about CAC until later in my CAP career. So I do agree that the visibility of CAC is really important to get more people involved and to make things a little bit more efficient. Because if you have that more well-rounded perspective from all of the units, as opposed to just a handful of them that are actively involved, then you can create those well-rounded solutions. Some units may not have very active ES officers, and so if cadets want to do more ES training from that smaller unit, then it would be easier if they had that support.
Exactly. Bigger events always go better in CAP. The more people you can get, the better it goes.
So if they don't know who their CAC representative is,
look for the people with the colorful shoulder cords.
Okay.
That's the easiest. At your
but
squadron,
if they don't have an active CAC rep.
If you don't have a CAC rep,
what should they do?
If you want to get involved in the CAC, walk up to your squadron commander, and just say, "Hey, I want to be the CAC rep." If your squadron doesn't have one, because I can tell you for a fact, I'm sure that squadron commanders must get tired of having their, all of these cadet captains emailing them all the time saying, "Hey, I need you to put a rep. Hey, I need a rep. Hey, I need a rep." And I'm sure they would love someone to put on there. If you already have a rep, obviously just ask around, find out who it is. If you do have an idea, you don't have a rep, and you don't want to get involved or can't get involved for some reason, look probably on your Wing's Facebook page, probably has it. If not, just ask your squadron commander who, the Wing rep is. It's really easy to find out if you have access to all those records, which senior members do.
So people could present their ideas at the Wing level CAC.
Definitely. So if you are in a squadron that doesn't have a group CAC, or maybe you don't have a Wing CAC, you're allowed to go to the next lowest level. So whatever your lowest level is, you're more than welcome to present. So definitely feel free. If you don't know what your lowest level is and you just find one level, just shoot them an email. I mean, everybody in the CAC is there to help out the Wing. You're not going to offend anybody. You're going to make their day that someone actually cared enough to send them an email and send them an idea.
Yeah. I like that. So I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit. You're from Tennessee Wing.
I am from Tennessee Wing.
So could you tell me one special thing that makes Tennessee Wing unique?
One thing that makes Tennessee Wing unique. Tennessee's got a lot of unique things about it. I will say Tennessee is the one wing that I've been to that is like super tight knit. Like we are super tight knit. I can name probably half of Tennessee wing. Half of Tennessee wing can probably name me. The other half is all those cadets on the rosters that nobody knows who they are.
Oh.
So definitely, just a Tennessee wing, for better or worse. Everybody pretty much knows everybody, and so that's something that maybe another wing has, and I just haven't found that wing. But I've never really been at a wing that I felt like was just so much very close as Tennessee wing is.
That's great. I think it depends on the wing, because sometimes there are geographic barriers that prevent people from being super close, like Alaska.
Exactly.
That
Texas
could be
wing, you don't expect them to be very close, you know. Florida wing struggles, I'm told. But definitely Tennessee wing. Even though Tennessee wing is a very long state, you know, it would take me like 8 hours to drive to Memphis Squadron. You know, I still know people in Memphis Squadrons.
Nice.
And still have friends in Memphis Squadrons. We get together at events and stuff like that. So.
And so if people aren't in that known group of people, is it easy to get into that known group of people in Tennessee wing to be part of that tight-knit group?
You know, it can definitely be a struggle when you first join to like, because of that is one of kind of the side effects is that, you know, when no one knows you, no one knows you. But I think we do a really good job about being accepting and very much accepting in that way. I can tell you when I joined, it was not hard at all, but that's because when I joined, my squadron had a great program where older officers would work with some of the people who just joined to try to get them up to speed kind of thing. So there was a lieutenant colonel who I got to work with, was a great guy. I really respect him and grateful for all that he did for me. And so, yeah, he introduced me to a lot of people and kind of got me in that circle. So that's kind of how that kind of works. I've done it to other people, been like, hey, you know, this is so-and-so who just joined. He's a really great kid. You should consider him to staff your thing. I heard you're looking for staff. Great kid. So.
Yeah, I know quite a few people across like the national or across the country in terms of being involved with CAP, which is really cool, like being involved with NCSAs. So a lot of them have different experiences and how tightly knit or how not tightly knit their wings are, or like the culture that the wings have in terms of like what their focuses are. So that's pretty interesting. So my final question is there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to bestow upon our wonderful viewers?
You know, I'll quote Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so apply for everything you possibly can. Take every position they offer you, and just do everything you can. And, like, that's kind of the mantra that I've lived my CAP career through. That lieutenant colonel that I mentioned earlier, who kind of raised me in my CAP career, he always used to tell me that you should apply for everything, even if you don't feel like you're qualified for it, because you never know. You might be the most qualified. You might not be qualified for it, but you might be the most qualified for it. So you never know. And definitely, if you want to get really involved in CAP, CAP's a great program, and you can get really involved in CAP. And I would highly encourage you to. And the best way to do that is going to lots of things and, you know, getting to know lots of different cadets from everywhere, because that just kind of has a domino effect. Like I staffed an encampment somewhere, and the person I worked for at encampment, they got me into another program. And so I got into that program, you know, and it's great just getting to re-meet those people. Some of the people I staffed my first encampment with, we were representatives together on the region council, CAC. And so it's great. Just get as far into it as you want, and it'll be a good program.
Sounds good. So that's going to wrap things up for us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And that's all, guys. So we're going to wave goodbye. Goodbye.